So today we have Lena Thompson, who has been a wonderful friend, and we have been constantly engaged in meaningful interactions. And always one thing that that is common amongst us is that we always try and find ways to have meaningful conversations at the same time. Create possibilities for wonderful leaders to engage meaningfully and maybe share some of the learnings and insights from our respective journeys and bring it to the table to create impact to your lives. So, in the last conversation that Lena and we were having, like a couple of weeks ago, we decided people are facing a lot of fear, be it fear of public speaking or fear of visibility. And of course, we are living in a world where, we are constantly being monitored, being judged, be it social media or otherwise at our professional organization. So, we thought, why not translate that to a beautiful conversation? And here we have Lena with us, who has again willingly offered her valuable time uh, to share with all of us her insights and learnings and why this matters to her and the community she is working and serving. So, welcome, Lena. Welcome to the podcast. It would be great if you could share some of the impactful work that you have been doing over the years and why today's topic matters to you.
Hi, Sagar. So thank you so much for having me back. We've had indeed few meaningful and fun, engaging conversations. And I think this one is just so relevant because exactly as you said, so many people are struggling with fear. And actually recently I did a survey on LinkedIn asking people some of the biggest fears that they face, and the fear of judgment and fear of failure were on the top, the top ranked fears. So why this is so personal to me is because I've been on this journey the last few years where I went through an emotional breakdown which triggered all of the fears, all of the insecurities, everything I've been suppressing, denying, running away from my entire life to come up to the surface at once. And we normally struggle with one of those dominant emotions, which is either anger, grief, or sadness, and fear. So for me, fear was the big one. And at times it was so overwhelming, I actually thought I really needed to go and seek professional help. But by that time, I was doing a lot of inner work already. I was meditating a lot. I was journaling. I was aware about the mind, body, soul connection. And through the help really of my teachers, of my mentors, through a lot of YouTube, the inspiring stuff I was listening and deep inner work, I began to make small changes. But I was like basically rebuilding myself piece by piece and dealing with all of these heavy emotions that were coming up and they were extremely consuming. So having gone through that and seeing, what people are struggling with, I'm really passionate about sharing not just my journey, but also what helped me to overcome it. Because over the years, I've literally invested multiple 5 figures into my mentors and my coaches because I didn't want to be trapped. I didn't want to be limited by my emotions. Because it was like, we're living in a prison. We just don't know we're living in a prison until everything erupts at once. But there is a way to find clarity. There is a way of finding peace. There is a way of finding stability and security and safety within yourself so that no matter what happens around you, you are the one in control. You don't allow those emotions to overwhelm you. And that's why, there's some simpler techniques and tools that don't need to take people years. They don't need to take them 30, 50K of investing in coaches or years and years of therapy. And that's the one common thing I see. People come to me from years of therapy, having not made a progress. And we make progress pretty quick because of everything I've gone through, because of the experience and knowledge I've accumulated. I help people to find clarity and move past fear, especially fear of judgment and fear of failure. And I'm really excited that we're going to be delving into this topic today.
I just wanted to understand what is the root cause of fear? Like, what is the language of fear?
Yeah, so it's unprocessed emotions. Most of them happened in our childhood. Obviously, if you believe in past lives, like I do, I believe we bring it into this lifetime. But let's just keep it very practical and real for those who not really, believe in that kind of thing. So in our childhood, we all experience traumas. Even if we had the most incredible childhood, there is certain amount of trauma that you have gone through. And the trauma can be, let's say you're 2 years old, you drop an ice cream and nobody picks it up. Let's say your mom's standing next to you and you make it mean that she doesn't love you. So next time somebody doesn't do something for you, you associate it, they don't love me, they're going to leave me, they're going to abandon me, they're going to reject me. So these unprocessed emotions, they literally build up in our nervous system and they create us energetic blocks. So as we go through life and if we haven't dealt with them, any external event that kind of touches on the trigger is going to activate it. And that can, again, trigger either fear, anxiety, or grief, or anger. So normally it's typically anger or fear. Those are what I've noticed, the two predominant ones.
So what I understand is that a lot of us are experiencing world using the intellectual framework that we have. Let's say, there is an intelligence that guides us, and maybe intelligence could mean different things to different people. So I would love to know your perspective on that, as well as, is it okay to just follow the intellect? Because usually whatever knowledge or whatever experiences that comes to us as we grow at this stage and in this age, we are using a lot of intellect. So is it also contributing to the fear?
Yes, absolutely. All fear comes from this. So your thoughts trigger your emotions, and your emotions dictate your decisions, which lead to actions, your behavior, and ultimately your identity. So who you are is a byproduct of your thoughts. And this is why we get stuck in this repetitive cycles, of fear, of negativity, of negative self-talks, of the stories we're telling about ourselves, because we can't go beyond it. Now, our logical mind is only responsible for like 5% of our daily activities. Everything else, we are operating from our subconscious minds. So when we are trying to figure out, let's say, how to navigate a certain situation, how to overcome a certain challenge, how to, take steps that will result in a certain outcome, we're only tapping into 5% of our potential. And this is why we're getting such limited results. You can't figure these things out from your minds. It's just not possible. So in order to go beyond that, in order to really break through, you've got to learn how to access the wealth of information that already exists within you. And that requires you to go beyond your logic and start tapping into your subconscious minds. So yeah, over relying on intellect can definitely lead to anxiety, to fear, to things like that. And if you look at even around us, some of the world's most intelligent people, they're stressed, they insecure. I speak to so many successful people like in the CEO roles, directors, really high-ranked people. Literally on the surface, they look confident, they look security, they look safety. But as you start probing them, as you start asking them questions, there is doubt, there is insecurity, there is a fear of the future, there's a fear of failure, because they are just so driven by their intellect and they're completely disconnected from the body and from the soul.
Also, what I have realized is that over the years, because I think I have also in a way experienced this, and I think the kind of world we live in, like I always say that we're living in an exaggerated economy, and being an imposter. In fact, I would love for you to share. It's like there are people who know that they are imposting, and then there are people who do not realize that they're going through an imposter syndrome. And then there is a stigma around recognizing that, hey, like, what, I have been imposting, and how it is, again, creating fear. So would you like to share your thoughts there?
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is a mix of fears. It's a fear of visibility, fear of not being good enough, fear of perfectionism. But at the core of all these fears, because no matter what fear you experience, it's always exactly the same thing, because all of the fears is their attachment to a certain outcome, right? So if this outcome does not happen, I don't feel safe. And this is whether it's fear of judgment, whether it's fear of perfectionism or failure, whether it's an imposter syndrome, it's all exactly the same. And by safety, I don't mean like I'm going to be beaten up. It's more emotional safety. Am I going to be approved? Am I going to be liked? Am I going to be recognized? All of that. So this is what imposter syndrome is. And we don't need to address all of the fears individually. What matters really is understanding why attachment to this outcome is so important to you. So let's say if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, the chances are is that you have this idea you need to be recognized, you need to be seen as competent, as worthy, as successful. So you're basically seeking attention from outside of you to affirm your sense of worth and value and belonging. So if that's what you are doing, and I mean, I think a lot of us have experienced that, instead of saying, well, how do I overcome this fear? How do I become more confident? Because again, how is the question of the mind. And remember, we said mind only operates 5% of our potential. You probably don't know because all of it is so deeply rooted in your subconscious mind. So you probably can't figure out the how. But instead, rather ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? Right? What does this mean about me if this person doesn't give me this approval? If this project fails, if it doesn't go the way, what does it say about me? And that's what we need to look at. Whether it's imposter syndrome, whether it's fear of invisibility, it doesn't matter. Because it's not the external events, it's not the outcome that we fear. What we fear is the story that we attach to it, right? We fear what it means about us if things don't go according to plan. So it's basically more of a like insecurity and a low self-worth than anything else.
So, what was the turning point in your life where you realized that, hey, like, you know what, I've been living a dual life, so it would be great if you could share your journey?
So, I mean, I have fears. Trust me, I I have them. I don't think the point of this whole thing is never to have fear, but it's more like, firstly, how long are you going to experience and sit in that fear? And the second question, are you going to allow this fear to control you, or are you going to take charge? So, firstly, I wasn't really even aware that I was living with fear up until I had this emotional breakdown, burnout, whatever you want to call it, about 2.5 years ago, because it was so suppressed. I obviously knew something wasn't right, but I was kind of a fearless person. Like, I quit my 6-figure job to start a business. I had no idea what that was even about. I hurled myself out of airplane. I went bungee jumping. I traveled the world. I was representing South Africa in fencing. I've moved countries so many times. I learned different languages. So I didn't feel that I had fear. But that fear was more of an emotional fear. It was a fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being misunderstood, fear of unworthiness, all of these fears. So when they all resurfaced one on one, it was, as I mentioned already, it was so overwhelming. And it was basically, initially, it was pushing a lot against it. I'm a strong person. I should be better than this. And what I realized, all I was doing is I was pushing those fears further and further down. I wasn't allowing them to come up, because emotion is energy in motion. And in order to heal it, you've got to feel it. You've got to release it, not to suppress it. Because when you suppress it, it doesn't disappear. It just stores in your body. It's being stored in your nervous system. And the next time something happens, it will trigger the same emotion and you may feel even stronger. So the turning point really for me happens. And as I said, it's an ongoing journey. It's like, I can't say I'm fearless. There's things that still, shake me. But the big thing happened for me is when I started recognizing that any distraction, no matter how good this distraction is, even if it's a meditation, even if it's a breath work, is only going to keep masking this fear. And I've started sitting with it. And I was like, okay, well, come on, fear. I'm here. I know you're just passing. So let it burn. And you have this like burning sensation, sometimes in your chest, sometimes in your shoulder, sometimes in your stomach. And you allow this raw emotion, this energy in motion to literally move through your body. And you can almost like feel them, the tingles, and then it releases. And it can be released through tears, through yawning, through tingles, depending how charged this emotion is. So I would say feeling, being present, that's probably the biggest progress that happened for me.
Thank you, Lena, for sharing your experience and making it easy for us to understand, because I'm sure there are very few people who accept, but I think it is an emotion for sure. If I would say, if we are happy, we feel like I would be the most happiest person on the planet to see everyone happy. But again, to overcome and recognize fear and let it, release it from your system is something, is like, and I would say, we all have to strive towards it. So what are some of the simple action steps one can take, to let go and to recognize it, and first of all accept it? So it would be great to share your thoughts.
Well, you just said the very important word, acceptance. So we've got to accept where we are on this journey. A lot of people I speak with, and I say to them, well, when that anger or fear comes up, what self-talk are you having with yourself? And normally it would be, you're a strong person, you're not better than this, you shouldn't be doing that. But all we're doing is we're actually criticizing, we're judging ourselves. And no healing can happen through judgment. Because if you think about it, the person who's experiencing the fear of, let's say, getting on a stage or fear of abandonment is not the person that you are now. It's who you were, let's say, when you were 6, 7 years old. And that memory was so strong that it now is actually literally controlling your life. I don't know if you heard about the concept of inner child. So it's your inner child that's literally running your entire life, but obviously a lot of people are not aware of. So the first thing is acceptance. Okay, I'm feeling fear because when I was 6 years old, I made up the story that I need to put all of the walls around me to protect myself from something that wasn't safe. And for years, that story, that belief supported you to get to a certain stage, but now it's actually hindering your growth. So that's first awareness, okay? It's not me, it's the inner child. Right now, there's nothing I can do because that's what inner child needs to feel protected and safe. Accepting is number one. And then there is many techniques. I mean, I've already said, like, sitting with it. It took me years to be able to start doing it because it's uncomfortable, it's painful, and it's just your whole nervous system, your whole mind fights against it because we are creatures of habit, we're creatures of comfort. We don't like to get uncomfortable. So if you can find strength in you to sit through this heavy emotion, that would be the fastest. That literally, like, like a fast ticket to kind of shifting their emotion. But what also helped me initially, especially when I decided I wanted to do public speaking and I was terrified of public speaking, is visualization. So I actually teach it in with my clients when I speak on stages. I sometimes take audiences through this exercise where you literally step into reality where you are that person already. So you can even like open your eyes first thing in the morning and ask yourself a question. If I did not have this fear, what would I be doing? How would I be showing up? How would I be feeling? Who would I be spending my time with? And start journaling. But you are already in that reality. You are living as that person. You are embodying that version of you who's free of this fear, of this limitation, of this uncertainties, whatever that is, and becoming that version. And whenever that next time that strong emotion, whether it's fear or anger, comes up, that's my vision. This is the person I'm becoming. And it's constantly rewiring your mind to focus on your vision rather than on your limitation.
Thank you, Lena, for sharing that. Just wanted to know, we are living in a world where our digital presence has become very important. And when we say digital presence, it also means that somewhere we all have to communicate better. And at the same time, people in organizations, irrespective of the positions they are in, be it a leader of the organization, definitely, they have to be a good speaker, or a manager also needs to speak well to present in front of their team, or to articulate articulate the goals and objectives which as a company they would want to achieve. So also I see that speaking is one of the ways where speaking with heart, not just sharing, but speaking with heart is also one way of releasing and connecting with people. So I would love to know, your experience as a public speaker, and what has changed for you, and what has changed for some of the clients that you have been working.
I'm not really quite sure I understand your question. You're asking what's changed since I started public speaking, what's changed for me? Or, well, I mean, I believe it gave me more confidence and more certainty. It really helped me because we all have our natural gifts. And often we don't know what these gifts are. So when I used to go, because I was in a corporate sector for over 15 years and I built a very successful career, I've traveled the world, I've consulted to world's largest organizations. But if somebody asked me what are my strengths, I didn't know. It's like, well, I work well under pressure and actually like being left alone to do my thing because I'm very much introverted. I just like being in my zone and just everybody must leave me alone. I don't know if that was a strength, but I didn't really know what else my strengths were. So through public speaking and also through creating my keynotes, and that was really, really interesting for me. Every time I sit down to write a keynote, I found that I will begin experiencing situations in my life that I was literally talking about in my keynote. So let's say if I was writing a keynote about resilience, and events occur that will literally shake me up. And not even once, but number of times as I'm writing this keynote, as I'm delivering up until the point of minute of presentation, it's like universe goes, that's what you want to teach people. So every single thing I've been sharing with people, I've been talking about, it's something I've always personally went through. And for me, it was just so important to share my journey, because I know a lot of people feel trapped by their circumstances. They don't see the way out because of the bills, because of the family obligations. And even though they may have successful lives, within, they don't feel free, they feel trapped. So I knew that my why was powerful. I knew that my why was strong, and I knew I could really help people. And I think that's what actually finally got me up on the stage. So whenever like people say, well, how do I become a more confident speaker? I always say your why needs to be stronger than your how. You know, have you got a message to share? Do you believe you can impact people? And if that's yes, then it's just working on your own traumas, on your own fears, and that's possible. But let's also then look at the different aspects of that. Something you just said, you know, it's so important for managers, for leaders to be visible, to public speak. I don't completely agree with it. Not everybody is meant to get up on a stage and speak. If that's something you feel you would grow and would absolutely help you expand as a human being, yes. But some people couldn't care less, and they can still be great managers because of who they are, because of their essence, because of the stability and the calmness that they bring to their teams. They don't need to be on a stage, you know. So also like begin to understand, what do I want? Not what my company wants. What do I want? What lights me up? What is my passion? What will help me grow? And then make a decision whether stage or public speaking is the right thing for you. But if it is the right thing for you, then you've got to get super clear on why do you want to do that? Why? Not how.
Thank you for sharing that. So what I've been experiencing here in this part of the world is that like communication over an email has become a very big, let's say, a part of a skill that that needs to be bang on while you are in a corporate setup. So similarly, due to the rise in the digital influence in the last few years, public speaking as a skill has also taken in the same lines, where a lot of startups that are coming up, and then they need leaders to, of course, support the fellow leaders or the fellow team members. So there is a huge shift in people wanting to become wanting to understand the fundamentals of speaking. And I know it would be great to know I think you have recently launched a program around it, right? So it would be great to know more about it.
Yeah, so I've spoken on many stages all over the world, different continents, and relatively, I think my speaking career took off really fast. And that I attribute most of it to the work that I've been doing on me, visualizing, aligning with the vision, and literally things that I was writing down, things that I was imagining, visualizing, this started happening at such a rapid speed. I didn't even know what hit me. And what I've seen through many events I've spoken at and I've attended is that a lot of speakers, they want to deliver information instead of create transformation. And there is a big difference, because we live in a world where we are overloaded with information. So unless the audience is so deeply connected and so deeply passionate about the topic that speaker is speaking about, it's going to be difficult to really have this engagement, to have that connection with people. Or even if you create it, it's going to be, you know, how you retain information for 5 minutes, you leave the conference and you forget. But when you create a transformation, that's when you truly have an impact. And the only way to create a transformation is not just give them your information and your knowledge, but also combine it with your essence, with who you truly are, with your energy, with your presence, with who you are as a human being. And when you combine both of you, then you are combining your beingness with your doingness, and that creates strong electromagnetic fields that people are naturally drawn to. So that's why I've created a Speak with Impact course, which literally gives you step by step on how to do that, how to create this deep and meaningful connection with the audience. Because at the core of it, it all comes to cultivating that self-concept and expanding your energy, because everything and everyone will respond to your energy. In public speaking, sometimes I remember watching it, I think it was in one of the TEDx talks, it got millions of views. This guy was saying nothing. He was like sitting there with, I wish I remember who it was. It was brilliant. He wasn't doing anything. He was literally giving a bunch of words which made no sense, and audience were glued to him because of how magnetic he was on that stage. So it's not even the stuff that you're sharing with them, it's your energy. And that's what the main focus needs to be. And that's what Speak with Impact, the course I've launched, it's available on Udemy. That's what it gives you, step by step, helping you to understand how to optimize your energy, how to leverage that, where your core strengths are, how to combine your strengths, the things you're good at, with who you are at your essence, and create that speaker, the speaker abstract that literally engages and connects with audiences.
And I think, what I also want to share here is that because of the rise of chat-based conversations, and people are simply like, here I see everyone is just glued to their system and they're just chatting, right? So I just feel that somewhere people are losing. Not, of course, it's very important to speak while you are in a professional setup, but I think it is very important that the art of connecting, as you rightly said, or art of the energy, managing energy while speaking, is also so important. What are some of the suggestions or tips that you would like to share?
Well, it all comes down to self-awareness. And as I mentioned already, it's understanding not as just the information you're sharing, because anybody can learn information. I mean, I was in, my background is computer science. I used to run technical trainings for organizations. So I could memorize it. I could sit in a code, design workflows, all of that. But it's still just information transfer. So in order for you to really become the kind of speaker who engages, who's confident on stage, is you've got to bring the other elements of you, who you are at your core. What things motivate you? What excites you? What drives you? What fulfills you? What are your passions? What are your hobbies? But the thing is, when you're so deeply connected to that part of you, it's more of your beingness, to your soul, rather than the human body. I mean, that thing, the facade that, you're putting for everyone, it just amplifies your energy so much more. So you can still speak the same thing. You can still do a 40-minute presentation on agile methodology or on AI or whatever that is, but the way it's going to be expressed is very different. You can deliver exactly the same keynotes, but one keynote, people will sit there on the laptops, on the phones, paying attention to you, but kind of doing their own thing. And another one, they'll be glued to you. And it's got nothing to do with what you're saying, but with who you are being. So in order for, the simple exercise, I would say, is imagination, right? Because with our imagination, we create our reality. We're always imagining things. The only question is, what are we imagining? So the good exercise would be, you can imagine how you want to be on stage, the confidence you want to feel, how you want to stand, how you want to hold yourself, how you want people to look at you, how you want the talk to go, where do you want to speak, what are your surroundings, and really start connecting to that. And that would be probably, I think, one of the most powerful things anyone can do.
So, what are some of the behaviors or habits or observations you have around leaders or public speakers who are really managing their nerves or are managing their self-doubt? No, I think who are managing their, who are managing their nerves. What are some of the traits that you see, the great public speakers they follow?
I don't think great public speakers manage the nerves, because for me, managing means, I guess maybe we interpret it differently, but for me, managing, it means you're suppressing them. Great public speakers, you can still be nervous, but you don't manage it. I actually think you show that you're being vulnerable about it. You're being authentic about it. It's like, hey guys, I'm on a stage in front of like 800 people and I'm actually nervous. And even that, it creates that warmth. It creates that understanding, because people sit in the audience and go, shit, I'd also be nervous. But if you're trying to manage it, you're trying to, basically, you're not being authentic with how you're truly feeling. And that kind of creates a disconnection. So for anyone who's trying to manage the nerves, I would actually say don't manage your nerves, but that needs to come authentic. So if you're truly stepping on a stage and you're feeling confident, you're feeling authentic, awesome. But if you're not, if you're feeling the nerves, you can just tell, guys, I'm very nervous, be nice to me. And even that breaks the ice, right? So I wouldn't say like manage anything. It's just be who you are.
Thank you for sharing that aspect. So there are a set of speakers that I have like seen the insight for me with what you shared right now. There are so many checklists that are available, and there is so much of information that is available where people write down, you know what, I need to go in front of a mirror and I have to, shout 3 times, so that's how I feel less nervous when I go to stage. Then, as you rightly said, but for me the learning is that how authentic you are in your sharing with the audience that hey, I am nervous, because I have seen so many people who would just use this as a tactic and not as a living reality. So that distinction is very important, and thank you, Lena, for sharing that. The other thing I wanted to understand, there is a lot of questions. You know, we always hear introvert versus extrovert, and there is, people then fall into their own trap of thought process that hey, maybe I may not be a good public speaker because I'm an introvert. So would you want to clear some doubts for folks who would be feeling this way,
You mean if you're introverted?
and then they feel that hey, you know what, maybe I'm not the right person to be speaking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think being introvert's got anything to do with public speaking. It's got nothing to do. It's more is like why. Get clear on
Yeah,
your why. Not what
yeah.
scares you, not what who you are. Stop labeling yourself. I'm introvert, I'm extrovert, I'm this, I'm that. It's just a label that you put on yourself. More it's like what lights me up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can I be of service? How can I make an impact just by being me? How can I show up as my best version? Those are the questions you should be asking, not like, oh, am I introvert? Am I extrovert? How do I do this? Those are the wrong questions to ask because that gets us straight into the mind. And remember, this is where all of the fear, all of the doubts, everything is basically here because the minds, the logical minds, it doesn't care about the present moments. It has no clue about the future. Even if it tries to tell you it does, it still doesn't. It's not capable. So it's only rooted in the past. So all of the labels, somebody labeled as introvert when we were like 6 years old, and we take that label and we drag it into the present moment and we live with it like a badge of honor. So maybe it's time to drop all those badges of honor and rather ask yourself, who am I? Why am I here? What drives me? What is my purpose? How can I serve? And then it doesn't really matter whether you're introvert, you're extrovert, whatever you are.
I think there's a lot of folks are hardwired, and I think that is a big reason, because I'll tell you in my own example, it took me a good amount of time to unlearn. Like in my own journey, I've realized, because in so many ways, when you're working in an organization, a lot of things are happening. Of course, we are absorbing information as an experience, but we are not releasing information when it is needed. So maybe, Lena, I'm just sharing this. Maybe we can have a one more program, or a one more course on how to unlearn. I think that would also benefit the community. So I just wanted to understand, when you're in a public domain, people are really concerned about, am I being visible the way, I want people to, experience me, or I would also want to understand from you what, like the kind of world that we live in, being visible is important. So what are your first, initial thoughts here around visibility?
Well, firstly, and this is something I've learned from Kabbalah. I've been literally studying it the last few months, not long, but it's changed my life in so many ways. And I've studied a lot of metaphysical texts and all the other spiritual material. And in Kabbalah, it says all fear comes from taking. So as soon as you need something from anyone, that's what the fear sets in. So if you believe or if you think that you need to be visible so that others can experience you, that's taking their attention, that's taking their approval. and you will never fully give yourself. It's not possible because, again, you're going to operate from the ego mind, from a very small, limited aspects of you. So the question should never really, how can others experience me? Or how can I even make an impact? Because again, every time you're needing something from someone, that's going to create a fear, and people are going to feel it, right? Think about this event. Sometimes you go where people sell from the stage. Initially, the speaker comes up and you're like, I know they're going to sell me something. Or another speaker comes up and they're just sharing with you. And I'm not saying you can't sell. We run businesses. Of course, you've got to sell, but there is a place and space for everything. But when you go to the stage with the intention to share, with an intention to help, maybe even one person, they should not even having an intention. It's like, hey guys, this is what I went through. That's what helped me. If that helps any of you, awesome. And whether it's a personal journey, whether it's writing a piece of code, whether it's testing a software, that's all. It's all about sharing, not what I can do for them. It becomes too transactional. But rather it's like, open up your heart, give them your best, and just have no intention, no expectations. Because as soon as you have that expectation, that's you setting yourself up for trouble. Because when your expectation is not met, that's when the fear kicks in. I'm not good enough, they didn't like me, they don't approve of me, whatever the crap comes up, whatever the story comes up. But when you go there with no expectation, just with sharing, then it doesn't really matter, does it?
So, Lena, I just wanted to know more on where we are speaking publicly, and the way our brain is more receptive when we are listening to a story. So what are some of the ways of sharing an authentic journey? Because I have seen in a lot of YouTube videos or otherwise that people are simply making up stories. So just wanted to get your perspective on on how to be authentic.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely share a story. I always try to bring a little bit of a personal aspect into my talk. But one thing I would also say, be very careful what you're sharing, meaning that sometimes we're just not ready to share it. We haven't transcended that part of us. So it still maybe has anger or hurts or sadness in us. So if we share it too soon, it can also be kind of too vulnerable. You know what I mean? It's great to have the authenticity and vulnerability, but it's got to come from the place of strength, not from place of, I need you to feel sorry for me. I need you to empathize with me. But it's like, hey guys, this is what I went through. It hurt like hell, but because of the work I've done, because of whatever happens, I'm a stronger version, and I believe that can help you. So it's great to share, but also not overshare.
Thank you, Lena, for sharing that. Also, how do we embrace visibility to improve not in our career but also in personal fulfillment?
I don't think visibility and personal fulfillment have anything to do with each other. We say you need visibility to be personally fulfilled. Some people may go and move to the mountains, live with the goats, and they're going to be so fulfilled, while other people may be traveling the world, speaking on stages, and they feel like the disconnect, something is missing. Yeah. Again, it comes down to who are you at your essence, what motivates you, what drives you, what fulfills you. If speaking, visibility, being on stages fulfills you, awesome. And if the only thing that's holding you back is because of the fear that you've created to protect yourself when you were 5 years old, well, that's your work to do. That's what you've got to move past, because the world needs your message. The world needs to hear your story. And by not actually working yourself, but not moving past fear, you're depriving hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of people from growing, from expanding. So get over yourself and do the work, right? But that's only if you have this desire, if you have this drive, but you like, there's limitations, you know how you're struggling. You're like, oh, that would be so cool to do that, but you're holding yourself back. So that's one thing. But then if you go, I have literally no desire to be on stage. I'm happy like on my boat, on the weekends, going fishing, hanging out in a garden, drinking beer. That makes me so happy. Don't do that. We're all different people. So just figure out what gives you energy, what gives you excitement and fulfillment in life, and do that to the best of your ability.
I'm just a little curious to know what inspired you to launch this program, like the current e-learning program that you have created.
What, Speak with Impact? Well, because I just see such a disconnect between speakers and audience, because I know how much time and effort it takes to put a keynote together, to put a presentation, to learn it. And what I often see at the events is the speakers get on a stage and audiences get on the phones or on the laptops, and they just don't pay attention. And that's why I put it together, because again, we're so focused on giving information, we don't think necessarily about creating transformation, but that's where the real magic begins. So I just want to really to help people, firstly, to feel more confidence on stage, to make more impact, because if you really start using your energy correctly, the same person who's sitting in an audience and currently on their phones, they can be missing something so important you're sharing with them because they simply don't engage with you.
Yeah.
But if you just shift your energy, if you do the steps that I've outlined in a course, you then combine again who you are with who you be, is the both sides of you. And that same person can have like a biggest revelation of their lives. So it's for both, for speakers and also for the audience.
And how do we find that program? What is the best way to, get the program for ourselves?
Yeah, so I mean, we can drop the link under the video, wherever the video is going to go public. And also it's on Udemy. It's called Speak with Impact. And it's just under my name, Lena Thompson.
Thank you, Lena, for, coming once again to the Virtual Global Leadership Podcast and sharing your wonderful insights on managing fears and how to speak with impact, and sharing your wonderful journey, your perspective. And thank you for clearing some of my own curiosity and doubts, and creating value for the global community. Before we end this conversation, you have something to share with the audience or anything that you would like to share?
Yeah, it's actually, I heard it somewhere, I can't remember where I heard it, but it really made me think. We often look for confidence in the future, right? It's like, when I overcome this, I'll be more confident. But actually, that's one thing our past can be really powerful for, because the way situations in our past where we overcame certain challenges, where we overcame our fears, we overcame our doubts and insecurities, and we've grown from that. So when looking for confidence, also sometimes look at the past, look at everything you've accomplished, look at everything you've overcome, look at a person you have become now compared to 5 years ago, and draw your confidence from that, rather than looking at the future, trying to figure out how it's going to happen, how am I going to get more confident, how am I going to get the strength to get on the stage or to share the presentation. Go to the past and write down almost list of all your accomplishments, all of this situations where that helped you grow and evolve into the person who you are today.
Yeah, but I have realized that with some of the coaching clients that I work with and some of the leaders that I interact with, when we have this discussion of who you are now as a person and what are you becoming, most of the times they do not recognize or realize that they have also grown, and most of the times they are on the self-sabotaging mode. Most of the times they are unable to recollect the wonderful skills, talent, work, contribution to community or people that they have done. So maybe your perspective on how to channelize that in a way so that they really realize that they have arrived here with all the hardships and the experiences. So what are some of your thoughts on motivating or sharing with these leaders who might be self-sabotaging?
Yeah, well, to slow down, to literally carve time out in a day for that self-reflection we're talking about, to sit with themselves, to question, where is this insecurity coming from? Where is this fear coming from? And really, like the question I love asking myself, who would I be without the fear? So what I do, like before I go to bed, I set an intention to wake up with more certainty the next day. If something is holding me back, if there's certain fear I do have in my life that I'm working through them. Some of them have shifted fast. Some of them are taking time. And instead of like judging myself, which I used to, why am I not there yet? Why am I still feeling it? I thought I feel it. Why is it back? I just ask for guidance. I will ask for, or set an intention tomorrow when I wake up, that thing is not going to feel so sticky for me anymore. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel stronger. And basically just do that bit by bit. It's like you don't eat elephant in one big bite. You take small bits. Yeah. So going into your past, drawing the list of events, situation that helped you grow, to evolve, setting a powerful intention in the morning, asking for clarity, asking for guidance. Because we live in this universal mind. We're all part of the universal mind, that infinite intelligence, which I think you mentioned earlier on. That infinite intelligence mind is way greater than ours. So tap into it, ask for guidance, ask for advice, pray. That's what I do a lot of when I really don't know where to go. It's like, show me clarity. Or do the visioning work that we spoke about. Put yourself in a situation and ask yourself, if I already knew how to be this confident person, if I was really a great speaker, if whatever, I was in a successful career, what would I be doing? How would I be feeling? How would I be showing up? So there's so many different tools. I mean, it could be like a whole separate masterclass on its own.
Thank you, Lena, for sharing that perspective and giving a food for thought to leaders who would be facing or would be self-sabotaging themselves. And thank you for sharing insights. And I think we must continue to empower the global community, and I would be more than happy to have you once again in the next quarter with interesting topic that you really care about. And it's been a wonderful associating with you. It's been a great learning experience every time we speak here, live or offline. So thank you, Lena, for being a guardian angel to me and to a lot of wonderful folks from our community. Thank you. Thank you once again. And thank you, viewers. Thank you. And I think it's your love and your wonderful feedback that I receive on emails and LinkedIn messages that we are continuing this journey of creating a wonderful community where global leaders share their experiential insights and the causes that they truly mean it and they care about. So thank you, viewers, for your participation as well.